If you knew about this character, you'd be a millionaire. Jordan Burnt Peterson, born June 12, 1962, is a Canadian clinical psychologist, YouTube personality, author, and a professor emeritus at the University of Toronto. 7. He began to receive widespread attention as a public intellectual in the late 2010s for his views on cultural and political issues, often described as conservative. 8, 9, 10. Peterson has described himself as a classic British liberal, 11, 12, 13, and a traditionalist. 14. Peterson in Dallas, Texas, in June 2018. Born Jordan Burnt Peterson, June 12, 1962, age 60, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Occupation: clinical psychologist, author. Internet personality. Spouse is Tammy Roberts M. 1989. Academic background: alma mater University of Alberta McGill University. Thesis: potential psychological markers for the predisposition to alcoholism. 1. 1990. Discipline: psychology. Subdiscipline: clinical psychology. School or tradition: classical liberalism. Conservatism. Institutions: McGill University, Harvard University, University of Toronto. Notable works: Maps of Meaning, 1999, 12 Rules for Life, 2018, influenced Greg Horowitz. 6. Website: jordanpeterson.com. Born and raised in Alberta, Peterson obtained bachelor's degrees in political science and psychology from the University of Alberta and a PhD in clinical psychology from McGill University. After teaching and research at Harvard University, he returned to Canada in 1998 to permanently join the Faculty of Psychology at the University of Toronto. In 1999, he published his first book, Maps of Meaning, The Architecture of Belief, which became the basis for many of his subsequent lectures. The book combines psychology, mythology, religion, literature, philosophy and neuroscience to analyze systems of belief and meaning. In 2016, Peterson released a series of YouTube videos criticizing the act to amend the Canadian Human Rights Act and the Criminal Code, Bill C-16, passed by the Parliament of Canada to introduce gender identity and expression as prohibited grounds for discrimination. In October 2016 specifically, while on the University of Toronto's campus engaging in dialogue surrounding Bill C-16, a protester approached Peterson and filmed a video that was then released online, making it one of his most viral videos, subsequently propelling Peterson's image online. He argued that the bill would make the use of certain gender pronouns compelled speech, and related this argument to a general critique of political correctness and identity politics. He subsequently received significant media coverage, attracting both support and criticism. Peterson's lectures and conversations, propagated mainly through YouTube and podcasts, soon gathered millions of views. By 2018 he had put his clinical practice and teaching duties on hold, and published his second book, 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos. Promoted with a world tour, it became a bestseller in several countries. That same year, columnist David Brooks described Peterson as the most influential public intellectual in the Western world. 1516. Throughout 2019 and 2020, Peterson's work was obstructed by health problems in the aftermath of severe benzodiazepine withdrawal syndrome. In 2021, he published his third book, Beyond Order, 12 More Rules for Life, resigned from the University of Toronto, and returned to podcasting. Peterson was born on June 12, 1962, in Edmonton, Alberta, 17, and grew up in Fairview, a small town in the northwest of the province. 18. He was the eldest of 3 children born to Walter and Beverly Peterson. Beverly was a librarian at the Fairview campus of Grand Prairie Regional College, and Walter was a school teacher. 1920, his middle name is Bernt/Barent 21, after his Norwegian great-grandfather. 22, Peterson grew up in a mildly Christian household. 23. In junior high school, Peterson became friends with Rachel Notley and her family. Notley became leader of the Alberta New Democratic Party and the 17th Premier of Alberta. 24. Peterson joined the New Democratic Party, NDP, from ages 13 to 18. 25-26. As a teenager, Peterson decided that religion was for the ignorant, weak and superstitious, and hoped for a left-wing revolution, a hope that lasted until he met left-wing activists in college. 23. After graduating from Fairview High School in 1979, Peterson entered Grand Prairie Regional College to study political science and English literature. 27. Studying to be a corporate lawyer. 4. During this time he read The Road to Wigan by George Orwell, which significantly affected his educational focus and worldview. 27. He later transferred to the University of Alberta, where he completed his BA in political science in 1982. 25. Afterwards, he took a year off to visit Europe, where he began studying the psychological origins of the Cold War, 20th century European totalitarianism, 2711, and the works of Carl Jung, Friedrich Nietzsche, Alexander Solzhenitsyn, 19, and Fyodor Dostoevsky. 11. Peterson then returned to the University of Alberta and received a BA in psychology in 1984. 28. In 1985, he moved to Montreal to attend McGill University. He earned his PhD in clinical psychology under the supervision of Albert O. Pill in 1991, and remained as a postdoctoral fellow at McGill's Douglas Hospital until June 1993, working with Pill and Marie Strongier. 27-29. While at McGill University and the Douglas Hospital, Peterson conducted research into familial alcoholism and its associated psychopathologies, such as childhood and adolescent aggression and hyperactive. Peterson has characterized himself politically as a classic British liberal, 11-12-13, and a traditionalist. 14. He has stated that he is commonly mistaken as right-wing. 83. The New York Times described Peterson as conservative-leaning. 9. And the Washington Post described him as an aspiring conservative thought leader. 110. Yoram Hazany wrote in the Wall Street Journal that the startling success of his elevated arguments for the importance of order has made him the most significant conservative thinker to appear in the English-speaking world in a generation. 8. Wall Street Journal editorial page writer Barton Swaim wrote, "I wouldn't describe Peterson as a conservative. His interest lies in individual rather than societal order, and he says little about public policy. But it's true that he not infrequently winds up holding conservative viewpoints on cultural matters." 111. The American Conservative wrote that, while Peterson has abjured any connection to modern liberalism or conservatism, the biggest tell that Peterson is a conservative is simply that his general disposition toward life and society is conservative. 112. In the Los Angeles Times, libertarian journalist Kathy Young commented that Peterson's ideas are a mixed bag. 113. Nathan J. Robinson of the left-wing magazine Current Affairs writes that Peterson has been seen as everything from a fascist apologist to an Enlightenment liberal, because his vacuous words are a kind of Rorschach test onto which countless interpretations can be projected. 114. Academia and political correctness. Peterson suggests that universities are largely responsible for a wave of political correctness that has appeared in North America and Europe. 58, saying that he had watched the rise of political correctness on campuses since the early 1990s. 115, Peterson believes the humanities have become corrupt and less reliant on science, in particular sociology. He contends that proper culture has been undermined by postmodernism and neo-Marxism. 11. Peterson's critiques of political correctness range over issues such as postmodernism, postmodern feminism, white privilege, cultural appropriation, and environmentalism. 90. His social media presence has magnified the impact of these views. Simona Schios of the Globe and Mail wrote that few University of Toronto professors in the humanities and social sciences have enjoyed the global name recognition Professor Peterson has won. 58. Writing in the National Post, Chris Selly said that Peterson's opponents had underestimated the fury being inspired by modern preoccupations like white privilege and cultural appropriation.